Okay, I think we can get started, and as more people come in, they can kind of just hear where we are. So hi everyone, and welcome to Duke University's Hillel College Fair session. We're so excited to have you here, albeit virtually, with us, and we can't wait to share our love for Duke and its Jewish community with you. My name is Brooke Scheinberg, and I'm going to be your MC for this student-led event. I'm a current Jewish senior at Duke, so yes, sad. I only have one semester left, so let's not talk about it. I'm a math major with a psychology minor, and I've been involved with Jewish life at Duke, which we call JLD for short, through the Jewish Learning Fellowship, the spring break trip, Roots to Rights, and by attending and helping run weekly Shabbat services. Today, you'll have the chance to hear from Senior Admissions Officer Alana Wiseman about Duke admissions, and then you'll hear from Sarah Jacobs, our current Jewish Student Union President, about Jewish life at Duke. Then, you'll have the opportunity to ask about all things Duke and Jewish life by getting your questions answered by us, some current Jewish students, Alana Wiseman, and JLD staff. You can type your questions directly to me so that I can field them to our panel, and we'll provide you with whatever we can. No question is too small. So with that, we'll get started by having the rest of our panel introduce themselves. Sarah, do you want to get us going?
Yeah, thank you, Brooke. Hi, everybody. It's great to see you all. Thanks for joining us here at our Duke Zoom. As Brooke said, my name is Sarah. I'm also a senior. I'm a major in international comparative studies with a focus on the Middle East, a minor in political science, and a certificate in Jewish studies, which is a lot of words. And I just like to say I like to study Jewish stuff. I am the current president of the Jewish Student Union at Duke, and I work very closely with Jewish life at Duke. I have been involved with JLF, the Jewish Learning Fellowship. I'm on the Shabbat squad, helping to lead services, and lots of planning super fun events with the Jewish Student Union. And I will hand it over to Dan.
Hey guys, I'm Dan Crair. I'm a senior from Miami, Florida. I'm pre-med with majors in biology and cultural anthropology with a minor in chemistry. I've been involved with Jewish life at Duke through JLF, through Roots to Rights. I'm on Shabbat Squad and help lead the Shabbats. And I also am the current president of J Street U, which is a pro-Israel, pro-Palestine political advocacy organization. I'm gonna throw it to Spencer.
Hi, everybody. My name is Spencer Kaplan. I am a senior at Duke studying public policy, political science, and earth and ocean sciences, which is a lot, but it's because I want to work at the intersection of foreign policy and space. I'm also from Westchester, New York, and I have been very involved with Jewish life at Duke. Specifically, I did that Jewish Learning Fellowship that somebody mentioned before, and I was also a JFAM mentor, which is our mentorship program for first years. And I'm also just very active in just regular events. So I will pass it off to Sydney.
Hi everyone, I'm Sydney. I'm a junior and I'm majoring in psychology and minoring in education. And I'm involved in Jewish life through attending events through all our other clubs. I do the Jewish Learning Fellowship and the Roots to Rights spring break trip. And I also am a student assistant. And I'll pass it off to Alana.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. My name is Alana Wiseman. I'm a senior admissions officer here at Duke. I'm also a Duke undergraduate alumna. I studied public policy and political science. Some of my favorite things from Jewish life at Duke were hosting Passover Seders every year. I also did Duke's birthright program after I graduated. For those of you who might be from New York or Washington, D.C., I'm your regional admissions officer. So hello, you might be hearing from me again. And for those of you who are new to learning about Duke, welcome. This is a great way and a great group. We just had a great session. That was a lot of using the word great, but really phenomenal experiences on campus. So what I'm going to do is just give an overview of Duke's community, some of the opportunities students have, and then dive into the admissions process and give an overview of financial aid. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. But while I'm doing that, if y'all have the hand raise button, just raise your hand if you visited Duke before or if you've done a virtual session with us. If everybody's new, that's very exciting because it means this is your first introduction. And okay, a couple of you have engaged with us in the past, but it looks like a lot of you, this is the first time, which is terrific because It's hard to capture Duke in a 5-minute talk, but a little bit easier when you see some Duke students on the screen, because they're going to give you what life is like on campus or on Zoom, wherever they are. Because Duke is a campus community. It's a place where students are thrilled to be and thrilled to be with each other. They come from 100 different countries, all 50 states. All 1,700 of them have different backgrounds and identities and stories, but they're coming together to be part of one Duke community. And what makes Duke different is again that students love to be in that community. They show up for each other at basketball games or research presentations or at orchestra concerts, or when you're 3D printing something at the collab at 3 in the morning and want somebody to come hang out with you. There's a sense of camaraderie and community that pervades every part of the Duke experience. Inside the classroom, inside the dorms, it's a strong and vibrant community. And when you walk around Duke's campus, you wear Duke t-shirts. You see people wearing Duke t-shirts. If you scroll along the sidebar of Zoom right now, you're going to see students wearing Duke t-shirts, or Duke masks as it is right now. There's a sense of pride and excitement in being a part of a place that is going to cheer you on and support you in whatever it is you're excited about. And that sense of excitement and energy starts for students in the classroom. At Duke, you're either going to enroll in the Trinity College of Arts and Sciences or the Pratt School of Engineering. Trinity is a full liberal arts curriculum, and Pratt is our rigorous engineering school. And whichever one you enroll in, you have the opportunity to take any class on campus as long as you have professor permission and prerequisites. It's a flexible, interdisciplinary, rigorous curriculum where you're going to take classes that don't exist in a single silo and be able to layer on different areas that you're excited about with one another. At Duke, there are about 400,000 different combinations of majors, minors, and interdisciplinary certificates or interdisciplinary minors that you can choose from. And if one of those 400,000 options doesn't work for you, you can create your own opportunity to design your curriculum for program 2. And the classes that you're taking at Duke are going to draw on different disciplines. You're going to learn from your peers and from your faculty members, usually in a seminar style classroom or in a flipped class model or doing service learning. You're going to be able to talk and discuss with people, not from your areas of interest, not from where you're from, to broaden those horizons, to dive deep into what you're excited about learning. In the Pratt School of Engineering, you're going to take design courses starting day 1, where you might build biomedical devices or work with local environmental organizations to design garbage catching systems that are then installed in local creeks. In the Trinity College of Arts and Sciences, you take the classes that sound interesting to you and work with faculty who you're excited to work with. About 85% of our students have more than just one major. They're taking advantage of opportunities, navigating exciting academic combinations, and you heard some of that here. And that sense of excitement and discovery, students aren't navigating alone. They have faculty members and advisors who are there to help them figure it out and what they're excited about and making a plan out of it. That's going to come through faculty members who are excited to engage with students. One of our favorite programs on campus is called Flunch, Faculty Lunch, where Duke will pay for you to take your professors out twice a semester. Now, for our students who are learning virtually, they can take part in VLearn, where Duke will set up a Zoom for them to connect with a faculty member and then send them something from Duke stores to remember that day by. Our students live in dorms with faculty members. Our faculty members show up to basketball games and concerts just like students. And on top of having those close connections, they also have a robust series of advisors who are there to help them navigate choices on campus. Those range from directors of academic engagement who help you figure out how to fit all the things you're excited about together, to academic advisors, to global education advisors, to pre-professional or career advising. Everyone is there to help you navigate to make the most of your Duke experience, because there are a lot of opportunities on our campus. When you talk to a Duke student, they're never just going to say, I'm a chemistry major, but they're going to paragraph and monologue all of the communities that they found, all of the initiatives that they're part of, where they did research, where they studied abroad, what clubs they're in, because they're so excited about them and want to share them with you. There are a lot of opportunities that those students are navigating. Over half of our students will do research, whether that's an independent study or joining a research team like Bass Connections, where undergrads will work with faculty members and graduate students on global problems with real life solutions. Students might do the Focus program, which is a living learning community specifically for first year, first semester students, where they'll explore interdisciplinary topics like medieval and Renaissance sciences or genetics and genomics and society. Students might explore through study away or study abroad with over 200 different Duke in programs over half of our students will take advantage of doing that, usually over the summer or during their junior year. And on campus, there are over 600 different clubs and organizations that students are able to take part in, whether that's Division I sports or music or the arts or some of the JLD supported organizations that you just heard about. The opportunities are endless for students, and they take advantage of as many as they can when they're on our campus or when they're around the world. But our campus is where our students are living and learning. Under normal circumstances, we do have a 3-year on-campus residency requirement and a 4-year on-campus housing guarantee, and the majority of our students do choose to live on campus all 4 years. But you're not living in the same space all 4 years. At Duke, there's something unique, and it's called East Campus. It's our home to all first-year students and has been for the past 25 years. It allows you to walk around, to go eat breakfast and dinner at the marketplace, to study at Lilly Library, to work out at Brody Gym, and to see the faces and learn the names of everybody else in your class year, to build that sense of camaraderie and community from the get-go with everybody else experiencing college at the same time. Your first year on East Campus, that community feeds onto your experiences on West Campus, where you'll be able to live with social organizations or with your friends or in a living learning community and be able to continue that sense of excitement and making the most of what living at Duke is like. And living at Duke isn't just living on our campus, but living in our hometown of Durham, North Carolina, which has been my home for the past 7-8 odd years. And it's a place that our students love to be because you can go hiking at the Eno River or see shows at the Durham Performing Arts Center or cheer on our baseball team, the Bulls, at the Durham Bulls Stadium and throw up the Bulls sign. You go eat dinner at hundreds of different restaurants because we're one of the foodiest cities in the South. Or go to 4 different farmers markets a week or take pottery classes or go to cultural festivals. Durham's a majority minority city, so there's a lot of cultural vibrance that students can take advantage of. It's been called the #1 city in the country for millennials. There are dozens of jobs, opportunities, labs, research organizations. We're in what we call the research triangle, which has one of the highest per capita ratios of MDs, PhDs, and engineers in the world. And that sense of intellectualism, that sense of excitement that you feel on campus, you also feel in Durham and in the triangle. So it's really no surprise that for the past 5 years, Durham's been the #1 destination for recent Duke graduates. Our students graduate as critical thinkers and collaborative leaders who are ready to take on challenges in industry, in graduate school, and beyond. 85% of our students who apply to medical school are admitted on the first try. That goes for 99% of law school applicants and 100% of business school applicants. For students who are looking for a job, 75% of them are employed on graduation day. And no matter what students' post-grad plans are, they always have access to the Duke Alumni Network. And the Duke Alumni Network is one where if you see someone wearing a Duke t-shirt across the street, you walk up to them and you find out when they graduated, what they studied, and where they lived their first year. Because that sense of community and camaraderie and excitement that you feel when you're on campus is the same thing that you feel when you're graduated. It's like you enter a community of cheerleaders, of people who want to support you and cheer you on, make connections with you, and allow you to continue to be part of that Duke family. We say when you bleed Duke blue for life. And that sense of excitement is something that sticks with our students forever. That was really a quick overview because I can't do justice to what these students can answer questions about, whether it's academics, the opportunities they've taken advantage of, the food on campus. They're your best resources to learning about Duke. So I'm going to switch gears and tell you a little bit about the fun stuff and admissions and financial aid. And here's the deal. This year is different. This year is chaotic. We know that. And it's not like applying to college was a lot of fun beforehand. So as an office, we want to be as upfront and transparent as we can be with you about what you do when you're applying to Duke and then how we make decisions, how we build our class. And I'll give a brief overview of the financial aid process after that as well. So when you're ready to apply to Duke, there are a couple of things that we're going to ask you to do. The first is choose how you're going to apply. And you'll use either the common application, the coalition application, or the Questbridge application. We do not have a preference of which you use. Whichever one you like better or your guidance counselor likes better, run with it. The second thing we're going to ask you to do is choose if you're applying to the Trinity College of Arts and Sciences or to the Pratt School of Engineering. Like I mentioned before, students in both schools can take the same classes. You can even double major between Trinity and Pratt when you're on campus. But whether you're in Trinity or in Pratt will guide your first semester. Are you starting off by taking design-focused classes, or are you starting off with an open liberal arts curriculum? There's no difference in how we review applications between students applying to Trinity or to Pratt. There's no application advantage to who's applying to Trinity or to Pratt. Use whichever one you want to study in. The third thing we're going to have you decide is if you're applying to Duke early decision or regular decision. And I'll touch a little bit more about this later. But one of the takeaways is that if you're a senior, I'm going to be talking about regular decision because the early decision deadline has already passed. When it comes to the application review process, how does it work? When you send in your application, it's not like we're uploading it to a computer. It's not like it's automatically logged in a database. There's no formulas or minimums or cutoffs that we use when we're reviewing applications, but rather real people read every page and every letter and every word of every application that comes into our office. I mentioned before that I'm one of the admissions officers from New York and Washington, D.C., which means that I'm your primary advocate in the process. I am responsible for knowing the context of your schools and your communities, the opportunities and the resources and the challenges that students in those areas usually face. So our goal as an office to understand you as an academician, as a classroom student, somebody who's going to be a roommate and a teammate and a lab mate on Duke's campus. And as an admissions office, we're building a class of students who are curious and imaginative and who are going to come and wear Duke blue and take advantage of all the opportunities that Duke has to offer. And as we go through that holistic admissions process, there are some things that we're going to consider and that feed into how we make decisions. The first is your transcript. And when we're looking at your transcript, we're considering the classes you've taken and the grades you've achieved in them. When it comes to the classes that you're taking, we want to see that you're pursuing what your school would consider the most rigorous curriculum available. So if your school offers AP classes, we want to see that you're taking those AP classes and increasing the number year to year. You go to an IB World School, pursue the IB diploma. If your school considers dual enrollment most rigorous, maybe you go to a dual curriculum Jewish day school, take the options that are challenging for you and take those across the academic areas. You don't have to take every single AP class that your school has to offer, but we want to see that you're embracing challenge and that you're prepared to handle the rigor of a Duke education. We're also going to look at the grades you've achieved in each of those classes. And we're not just going to look at GPA because GPA in a vacuum is a useless number for us. I read schools that use 4.0 scales, and I read schools that read 112.0 scales, and you can't really compare those two. So what we're looking at are the grades that you've achieved in the school system in every class that you've taken for academic credit. So, a D in PE isn't really gonna hurt you. Whether your school offers a number scale or A's or A pluses, we're looking to see that you're a high performer. You don't need to be a straight A or straight A plus student to get into Duke, but we do want to see again that you're well equipped to handle the rigors of a Duke education. The next academic piece of the application are standardized test scores. And for this year, current seniors, we are test optional, which means that it's up to you if you'd like us to consider your standardized test scores or to not consider your standardized test scores. Sophomores and juniors, check our website because we'll update our test optional policy for future years there. But optional really means optional. If you say, yes, consider my test scores, great, we will. You can self-report the SAT or the ACT directly on the application, and we will superscore both the SAT and ACT. If you say, no, do not consider my test scores, we're not going to consider them. We're going to look for academic evidence in other parts of your application. We're not trying to trick you. There's no additional essay, there's no replacement information. Optional means optional. And if you say, no, don't consider my test scores, but later on you're able to take the test, send it in. Absolutely great, you can change your mind. But if you say, yes, consider my test scores, you can't go backwards from there. We understand that accessing the SAT and ACT has been extraordinarily challenging this year. A lot of students had tests canceled on them. Maybe you're just not happy with the score that you achieved. That's fine. Take advantage of the test optional policy and what makes sense for you. The truth is, a majority of applicants to Duke, if they have the testing, they have the grades, and they have the classes. Those academic features don't make students distinctive. They don't make them stand out in our pool. What we really are looking for is who you are as a person, who you are as a potential community member. And it's going to come through these other elements of the application. I'll start by talking about letters of recommendation. And at Duke, we require 2 letters from teachers as well as 1 letter from a counselor. Your teacher letters of recommendation are going to give us a sense of who you are in the classroom. Are you the type of student who raises your hand and says something that everybody else jots down because it's a great idea for their essays later on? Could your teacher use your math test as the answer key? Does your teacher rely on you to be the Zoom czar for your classroom because you have the technology down, you can drive class forward? Those are the sorts of things that we're looking for. What are you going to be like in the classroom at Duke? Your teachers ideally are from 11th or 12th grade. They're teachers who've instructed you in rigorous academic classes and can speak to what you would be like in a class at Duke. If you have a teacher who you're close to from 10th grade, they know you well, they can speak to your academic maturity and contributions, that's fine, but we wanna make sure we can glean that information about you from them. Your counselor letter of recommendation is going to give us some more context about you and your school community. And that might be a really detailed letter telling us about the opportunities that your school has, the clubs that you've joined, the type of roommate you might be. It might be a little more generic of a letter. Maybe there's no letter at all. That's fine. That letter or that information was going to give us some more context about you and your school environments. The next thing we're going to consider are your extracurricular activities. And that's everything that you're doing when you're not in school and you're not sleeping. We don't have a list of expected activities. We don't have specific things we're looking for. We're looking for what you are excited about and what you're engaged in, whether that's sports or clubs or volunteering or nifty or babysitting your little siblings or taking care of your grandparents. All those things count as extracurricular activities. You're going to give us a list of up to 10 activities from most important to least important to you. And we take that into account. We want to see what you're engaged in. We want to see what impacts you're leaving. You don't have to be president of every organization. You don't have to have won an Olympic award, but we want to see that you are leaving places better than how you found them. The newspaper is really going to miss you next year. Nobody can pick up that Saturday morning shift at the library like you always did. We don't have priorities for extra activities. We just want to see what you're excited about, what's meaningful to you, or what you do to support your family. In terms of extra activities that might have been canceled over the past year, there are a couple of different ways you can approach that. One is telling us what you would have done. Maybe your soccer season was canceled, but you would have been captain. Tell us that. Maybe you tell us how you pivoted to a virtual environment. Your Model UN conference was canceled, so instead you held a crisis tournament over Zoom. Or maybe you tell us what you did instead. When you were in quarantine, you got really excited about baking bread, or you watched all of the AFI Top 100 films. Tell us that. We're excited to learn about how you spend your time. The last part of your application that's required and that we're going to consider are your essays. And your essays are how we get a sense of who you are. They're what you have control over, and they're how your voice comes through. And we want to read your voice, not your mom's, not your English teachers, not your college counselors, but yours. And we can tell when it's not yours. We don't care what prompt you answer for those long essays, but we care that it sounds like you and lets us know how you see the world. We're trying to get some insight into who you are, into how you view the world around you, into what's exciting for you or what's meaningful for you. The essay doesn't have to have flowery language or connect to a moral or tie into what you want to study in college. It just needs to reflect you and who you are. The other required essay we have is a short response asking why Duke. And that's 250 words to tell us why you want to be a part of the Duke community for 4 years. Do your research and be specific. That's the first thing I read when I read applications. And a good Why Duke essay helps me picture students on campus, whether it's in the classroom or in the stands in Cameron, or joining clubs, or sitting in the lobby at the Freeman Center. Do your research. Help us place you there. We also have a couple of optional essays. Truly optional, no penalty for not answering them. The first asks you to share about a perspective that you hold. So about an identity or a community that shaped the way you see the world. Some students will talk about their race or their gender. Maybe you talk about your Jewish identity. Totally open space for you to share with us. Second option is an essay that asks you to share about your sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. And again, that's a totally optional essay if you'd like to share with us. This year, there's also a community disruption and COVID response essay. So if you have experienced disruption due to the pandemic or economic recession or ongoing systemic racism, anything that's disrupted your community over the past several months, you're welcome to share that there as well. All of those pieces are puzzle pieces, and they're coming together to be the jigsaw puzzle of your application. And like I said, there's no formula to getting into Duke. There's no exact science or exact reason why students get in. And it's a little bit different for every student because we're gleaning different points of excellence. We're bringing different things from every single student in our pool. There's not just one type of Duke student, so there's not just one type of Duke applicant. But what we're looking for in each of those applications is a sense that students are going to dive right into everything this campus has to offer. I also mentioned that we would circle back to early decision versus regular decision, our two cycles on Duke's campus. And I'm going to dive a little more into them here. Early decision at Duke is a binding program. This year's deadline has passed, but it's traditionally in early November. If you apply by early November, you hear from us by mid-December. And if you're admitted through early decision, congrats, you're a Duke student. You withdraw other applications, you say no to any existing admissions officers, and you book your flights to Durham because you're going to enroll. Regular decision is a non-binding program. So if it's not your number one choice to go to Duke, if you want to compare different universities or financial aid offers, then you'd apply to us regular decision, which is due in the beginning of January and hear from us by April 1st. For early decision, the outcomes are admit, defer, deny. Again, that admit is a binding admit. If you are admitted to Duke, you are going to be a Duke student. A defer means we're not ready to make a decision on your application yet. So we release you from the binding commitment, encourage you to apply to other colleges and universities, and give you a final decision in the spring. We do deny a majority of early decision applicants, and that's because we never want to string students along. For regular decision, the three outcomes are admit, waitlist, and deny. A little bit more about the waitlist. At Duke, we offer you a space on the waitlist, and if you choose to accept that spot, you might hear from our office anywhere from April to August about joining the class. When it comes to the numbers, we try to be pretty upfront that there is a statistical advantage to applying early decision. It's not because we use a different review process. It's not because we go easy on ED applicants, but rather because it's easier to stand out in the smaller early decision pool where students have indicated Duke as being their number one choice. We also don't show you these numbers to scare you. If anything, I want to reinforce that this is a personal and contextual and holistic process. And we know how much work you've put in all through high school. And what we do to honor that is give you that full holistic admissions review as well. In terms of financial aid, I'm not a financial aid officer, so this is going to be a very quick gloss over. But the takeaway is that we want Duke to be as affordable as possible for as many families as possible. And it's our financial aid office's job to make sure that's the case. When it comes to what financial aid looks like, we're going to calculate your family's contribution based off of your FAFSA and your CSS profile. And anything that's left over to the total cost of tuition, total cost of attendance, is going to be your financial aid award. So that total cost of attendance is tuition, room, board, fees, flights to and from home, a coat if you are from Florida like I am. Everything that your family does not cover is going to be financial aid. That's going to start with grants. Other schools might call that free money or scholarships. It might include loans, which are capped at $5,000 per year and offered on a sliding scale based on family income. It might include work study, which is a job that you have on campus or jobs you have on campus. And there's no stigma to them because students do a lot. And work study jobs might look like research or might look like being a hostess at the faculty commons. When it comes to how the numbers for financial aid shake out, we really want to emphasize exploring the financial aid website and using two different tools online to get a sense of what your family contribution might be to Duke, the net price calculator and My Intuition. Both of those will give you a sense of what your contribution will be because everything else that's left over will be covered by Duke's need-based financial aid. A majority of our families do receive need-based financial aid and a majority of our students graduate debt-free. So I very much encourage you to explore the financial aid website, use those different tools to get a better sense of what affording Duke might look like for you and for your family. This was a very quick introduction to who we are as a campus, who we are as a community. And you have a bunch of terrific students here who can answer questions about what they have spent their Duke experiences doing, the things that they love about campus, the things that they love about the community, the things that they want to improve on in the community, and they're going to be your best resource there. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share and turn it back over to Sarah, who's going to talk a little bit more about JLD at Duke.
Thank you so much, Alana. Your presentation is so awesome. I want to go to Duke now after that. Thank you so much. First of all, everyone take a deep breath. I know admissions talk, it's making me nervous, even though I haven't thought about it in years, but it's going to be okay. It'll work out, I promise. But let's talk a little bit more about Jewish life at Duke. So Jewish life at Duke is what we refer to as our Hillel. It's a fully accredited Hillel, and it's located in its own building right in the middle of campus called the Freeman Center for Jewish Life. And this is an amazing two-story building with lots of classrooms, a library, places to lounge, places to nap, a printer, all that good stuff, and a full kosher dining facility that you can now order on your app. You can order ahead and come pick it up whenever you want. And the kosher dining is part of Duke's meal plan as well. It also provides for us free Shabbat meals, free holiday meals. Even during the pandemic time, we've been able to pick up our Shabbat meal on Fridays, say hello, take our meal, and then meet back together on Zoom, which has been awesome. Jewish Life at Duke oversees all of the Jewish affiliated clubs. So everything you've heard us talk about in the beginning, from the Jewish Learning Fellowship to a bunch of different Israel clubs, APAC, J Street, a cultural Israel club, Challah for Hunger, Tamid, like a business Israel club, and so much more. We have an Israel fellow. So his name is Reuven this year, and he's super awesome and does a ton of Israel programming. We also have an incredible rabbi named Rabbi Lana. I can't say enough about how amazing she is. She will take you to coffee and make you laugh and be there for you always, which is super awesome. Overall, JLD for us Jewish students is a place of support, a place of comfort, a place of learning, a place of celebrating being Jewish together, still at Duke. Jewish students make up about 12% of the Duke population. So that might seem a little small to you, but really when you walk around campus, you'll see tons of Jewish friends. Most of my friends are Jewish just because of the nature of what I'm involved in. And yeah, Jewish Life at Duke is really well connected at Duke. It's a part of the Division of Student Affairs, so they always know what's going on. We have a birthright trip. We have host your own Shabbats and Passover Seders. I really could go on and on about all of the amazing opportunities that Jewish Life at Duke provides, but I will throw it back to Brooke to start answering some of everyone's questions.
Incredible. Yay. Thank you, Alana and Sarah. I feel like those were both super educational pieces of this presentation. Okay, so our first question is, what are some unique experiences or activities that are available through JLD? And I think I'll throw it to Dan to talk about just some unique stuff that we have at Duke.
One thing that I really enjoyed being able to participate in was a spring break trip called Roots to Rights that a few of us mentioned at the beginning. Basically, it is an exploration of the American South, looking at the intersection between Black civil rights and Jewish activism. And so we went to, I think, 6 different states in the American South, looking at the intersections between Jewish communities in the area, Black civil rights activists in the area. And it was a really, really cool experience. It was a partnership between Jewish Life at Duke and the Mary Lou Williams Center for Black Culture on campus, and was just a really cool way to both meet more Jewish students as well as have a really cool, unique experience with some students from the Mary Lou Center. And it was just, I can't talk enough about how wonderful that program was.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I also went on Roots to Rights, and it was still, I went my freshman year, and it was still one of my most formative experiences at Duke. Spencer, can you also talk a little bit about a unique experience that you've had?
Yeah, so last year I had an idea about potentially starting a blog newsletter, loose term, about contemporary Jewish and Israeli current events, because I felt that a lot of my friends had sort of not really been able to follow it because it was too complicated, and maybe they didn't have a great Jewish education when they were younger. So I decided I would start this newsletter. It's called News of the Jews, newsofthejews.com, if you want to look at it. But Jewish Life has done a great job helping me out with it. They've promoted it not only at Duke, but also at other schools. They've had me come and actually moderate some events for Hillel. And so it's been a really neat experience, and Jewish Life has been sort of right there with me, helping me the whole way. So
Yeah, incredible. As an avid reader of News for the Jews Weekly, it can definitely promote it. Shameless plug, check it out. Yeah. Next question is, what are opportunities to study abroad for Jews at Duke or to Israel? And I think I'm going to throw that to Sarah Jacobs.
Yes. So I love to throw a pity party for myself because my abroad was this past spring, AKA I had to get sent home from Corona. But before that, it was so wonderful, and Jewish Life at Duke and the Jewish Studies Department at Duke were super supportive of me. I studied at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, which was an amazing experience. And Yeah, they're just really helpful in making sure that all of your classes will transfer. I also took Hebrew at Duke with Brooke, and continued that in Israel, as my language for my major and for the Duke requirements, which was super cool to do in a college setting. And yeah, if you have more specific questions about that, I'm your gal.
Incredible. I think our next question is it fairly easy to get involved in Jewish life at Duke early in your freshman year? And I'm going to throw that one to Sydney.
I would say absolutely, because there's so many different ways to get involved with Jewish life at Duke. And I would also say we have a program called JFAM where you get paired with an upperclassman Jewish mentor to just introduce you to Duke, talk about anything, be a friend. And so they are an easy resource to start helping you get involved in Jewish life. But there's so many opportunities, from going to Shabbat to going to a JSU event, to Challah for Hunger, to taking a class in the Jewish Studies department, that I think it's really easy, and the Jewish community is so open and welcoming.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I came into Duke not having like a super Jewish high school experience. And I think I was really nervous about kind of fitting in and whether people are going to accept me if I didn't like know as much about all the traditions. And I think I found Jewish life to be like such a seamless like transition for me. And it made transitioning to college overall way easier, because I was able to go to Shabbats right from the jump and feel super included. I like enrolled in, I think a few people have talked about the Jewish Learning Fellowship my first semester freshman year, and got to meet some upperclassmen as well as other Jewish freshmen. So yeah, I think it's super, they make it extremely easy. Like Jewish Life really wants you to be involved as soon as you get to campus. So we do everything we can to kind of reach out to you, and you have that community as soon as you get there, which is so great.
Sorry to interrupt really quick. Also, for those who know that they want to get a little more active right at the beginning, our Jewish Student Union has a first year advisory council for first years specifically to get to know each other and to start planning events, just to get to know other Jewish first year students and really start to build upon relationships within Jewish life at Duke and help grow our Jewish Student Union.
Yeah, incredible. Our next question is about the community. So is our community cliquey or more like cohesive? And I'm happy to take this one, I think. So I would say that it is actually super cohesive. I think just like any large group, it's not like everyone is best friends with everyone. But that being said, I think I get this feeling of whenever I walk into any like Jewish Life at Duke space and just kind of feel at home. And I think it's a type of thing where even if you haven't had a conversation with someone in a few weeks, you could just go up and talk to them and it kind of feels right where you left off. And I think the community is pretty big. There's different, there's some people who come to services every week, and there's some people who come to services just on high holidays. And regardless of who you are or kind of which of those two fit you better, you'll have a space in the community. And I think people make an active effort to really not exclude people and to make it feel inclusive. If anyone else wants to add to that one, go for it. If not, cool. I can jump to the next question. Great. So we have a next question about Shabbat on campus. So if you can talk about the service itself, what the meals are like. Dan, I think you talked about this last time. If you want to give your spiel on this.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So Shabbat looks slightly different now this semester and last semester versus what it normally looks like. So first I'll touch upon normally. Services start with half an hour of songs. We have people play guitar and ukulele, and we sing songs in Hebrew and in English to kind of get in a good headspace before Shabbat. Then we enter the sanctuary and we have about an hour of services. Our services are pluralistic, so they aren't any one clear denomination. There's a mixture of Reform traditions, conservative traditions, and things that are kind of somewhere in between, and really kind of appeal to everyone so that everyone can be in the same services. So we don't have Reform services separate from conservative. Everyone goes to the same services, and they kind of are meant to be comfortable in some aspects and uncomfortable in other aspects so that everyone can kind of meet each other at a similar level. services last for about an hour. Then we have Shabbat dinner, which is completely free. There's both kosher meat options and vegetarian options. It's wonderful. Anyone who you ask will tell you that Shabbat dinner is always amazing. And a lot of this is similar right now. We do have Shabbat over Zoom right now, just because it's not really safe to have in person, but we still have songs at the beginning. We go into services. We still have one set of services for everyone. We pick up Shabbat dinner prior to Shabbat starting from the Freeman Center, still have meat and vegetarian meals, still incredible. And yeah, I don't know if I'm missing anything. So if anyone wants to jump in and add anything, that'd be great.
That sounded like pretty cumulative to me. I feel like you covered it all. Shabbat is a great place that I think something I've missed over quarantine is being able to walk into the sanctuary and kind of just having that like deep breath feeling of everyone just, you're in this like loving space. But I think we've done our best to kind of recreate that atmosphere on Zoom. Our next question I'm going to send over to Sydney is about Greek life. So they asked, what's Greek life like on campus? And specifically, how does it intersect with JSU and Hillel?
Yeah, so Duke's campus is about 33% Greek life, 33% SLG, which is a selective living group affiliated, and 33% independent. And those numbers might have changed in the past year, but those are the most recent facts I know. And so I would say Greek life is definitely not overpowering or overwhelming on campus. A lot of my good friends are independent and manage to find many activities to do in a community. But for those of you who are looking for a Greek community, that is also available. And I would say with its intersection with JSU and Jewish life at Duke, obviously there's overlap between people in Jewish life at Duke and people in Greek life, but it's not, I would say, a way where people are like, there's options to host your own seders during Passover. And I think that's a way that some Greek communities try to bring in or connect to the Jewish life community too, and kind of share their traditions with them. In my sorority, we had a meeting on anti-Semitism after the Tree of Life shooting. So that's another way that has happened. So there is some overlap.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we had a follow-up question, which is what is an SLG? So I can kind of answer that and speak to this idea of like intersection with respect to SLGs as well. Because I'm not in Greek, I'm in an SLG, which is selective living group, which are Duke specific things. So we don't exist on any other campus. We're co-ed typically, which means we're not just one gender or sexual identity. And beyond that, I think there are some like kind of niche differences, but like similar ideas, like a social selective group. And I think kind of what Sydney was saying, there's not a lot of like intense overlap. And I think specifically within the Jewish community, it's not the type of thing where we talk about our social affiliations. Because I think it feels like everyone in the community is Jewish. It's not like sectioned off by your Greek or SLG identity. But then I guess in your SLG or in your Greek affiliation, there might be some things that they run that are more Jewish, like Sydney was mentioning the Seder for Passover. Next question, and do like yeah, go for it.
So Brooke and I are actually in the same SLG. It's called Cooper, and we have a subgroup chat within Cooper that we call Jupers. So there is definitely Jewish identity within these groups as well.
Yeah, I think that would be the emphasis is like within social groups, I would say there's like Jewish subsets, but within the Jewish group, we don't make social subsets. Like the Jewish group is more cohesive. Yay. Our next question, does JLD have programs that interact with surrounding Jewish community in Raleigh-Durham? I think overall the answer is yes. Does anyone on this board want to speak to that specifically? If not, I can.
I can speak about one program that's really important to me. So pre-COVID, of course, the Jewish Student Union partnered with the Jewish Federation of the Triangle, and we volunteer with Jewish Family and Community Services to go and lead Shabbat in the elderly home once a month, and we call that Atria Walk Shabbat. And for me, that was a really meaningful experience coming every month. And they were so happy to see us. They would remember our names and we would catch up like we're old buddies. It was so sweet. And being able to volunteer our time for these elderly Jewish members of the community was super meaningful.
Yeah, just one quick thing to add on. I actually was speaking with the rabbi at one of the local synagogues the other day, and he specifically asked me about more ways he can get involved. So that is to say that the local Jewish community does really care about Duke students who are Jews, and they will be more involved in the future too. So.
Also sorry, Brooke. For current Duke students, including myself, are Hebrew school teachers at the local conservative synagogue, which is really fun. So we get interaction that way.
That was truly what I was gonna plug. So Sarah like read my mind. Yeah, okay. So our next question is kind of more general, zooming out. What is our favorite and least favorite things about Duke? So I think it'd be kind of fun if each of us answered this, unless there's another question that comes in, because I think this is our last question. Sarah, maybe, or Sydney, if one of you wants to start it.
I can start. I always say my favorite thing about Duke is the people. I think Duke students are truly the most unique, well-rounded, kind, fun individuals I've ever met in my life. And I feel so lucky every day to have the friends that I've made through Jewish Life at Duke, especially, but just in general. My least favorite thing about Duke, I mean, honestly, right now is like finals. So you're asking me at a really bad time. So I might say like finals week is rough, not me in the library all night last night. But yeah, that's like a normal college thing. It's not Duke specific. Don't you worry.
I can hop in. I think my favorite thing about Duke is the opportunities and access. So getting to hear really cool speakers and lectures. And I just like geek out a little when I see my professor mentioned in my textbook. It's like, wow, they're so important that they are cited in this textbook going everywhere. So I think that's super cool. And just getting to know them and like having relationships with them and knowing that they are really in the top of their field. And similar to Sarah, my least favorite probably has to be the workload is not the easiest. It's manageable, but it will be difficult at times, especially around finals and midterms.
Yeah, I can go next. So I'd say my favorite thing about Duke is just like the sheer lunacy of the experiences and the opportunities that we have. It's actually ridiculous. I like to tell a quick little story where I was talking to a friend of mine who goes to an Ivy League school, and he goes, "Oh, Spencer, Adam Schiff came to campus and I got to put my name into a raffle and I got a seat all the way in the back." I said, "Oh, that's great. Adam Schiff came last week. I sat front row and went to dinner with him." Like that's the sort of thing that you get at Duke that I think is sort of unprecedented at other schools. And I guess my least favorite thing about Duke, and this is actually sort of like a serious thing, but it is changing. There's a lot of movement on this. But at Duke, your housing is in part tied, it can be tied to rush. And so there's a whole concept of selectivity at Duke, which is like getting into Greek life or getting into an SLG, and that can determine where you live. And I've always found that to be somewhat of a problematic concept. But that is something that Duke is working on. They actually just announced a slew of changes the other day. So there's a lot of student advocacy on this, and the administration is responsive.
I'll go next. So I want to second everyone else's favorite thing. So I'm going to talk about something way different. I'm going to be that person and say Duke basketball is one of my favorite things about Duke. I have been to every single basketball game when students were on campus except for 4. Talking about all 3 years that I've been until this year. And it's a huge part, a fundamental part of my time at Duke, which does not mean that it has to be a fundamental part of every student's time at Duke. A lot of students are engaged with Duke basketball and a lot of students aren't engaged with Duke basketball, and that's what's great. But what other school can you have a like top 10 basketball team where you get free front row tickets to go see any of their games when you're on campus? Unheard of. So that's been something that's been really, really cool about my undergraduate experience. One of my least favorite things about Duke is that it can be sometimes really easy to get trapped into a bubble at Duke where you don't really leave the campus very often. And that's something that I've struggled with a lot throughout my time at Duke. Not really taking advantage of going out into Durham, which is such a wonderful city with so many great restaurants and so many great places to go, or even leaving Durham. So just something that I would recommend is to kind of fight back against that and definitely explore Durham, explore the surrounding areas.
Yeah, for sure. I want to throw it to Alana also, just like as an alum, if you could touch on your favorite and least favorite things.
Sure. I'm trying to think of something novel to say about my favorite thing, but it's going to be the same thing that everybody else has said, which is the community. Um, when I was a sophomore in high school visiting Duke for the first time, I toured dozens and dozens of colleges, and my Duke tour guide was the one who I remembered. She was from Cleveland. She studied econ. She had a theater minor. She did Duke in London, the drama program. She was on DUSDAF, which is our food committee. And she walked with my family and answered my parents, typical questions. And there was a sense of, oh, if you come here, you're going to be one of us. Like, you are going to be welcomed right into this space, that I felt the very first time that I visited, when I visited as an admitted student, my very first day of classes, my first year on graduation day. It's also the reason why I stayed. This place has a gravitational pull on you, and it's really hard to leave because you meet faculty members and students who are absolutely inspiring and funny and smart. I read an essay the other day where the student said, at Duke, students are smart and it's the and that matters. And I think that's really something that resonates with a lot of people. I do think that translates into something that is, in retrospect, the least favorite thing for me about Duke. When I was a student, I would have said the food, but fun fact, there are 40 new restaurants on campus that did not exist when I was a student. They're laughing, but the Broadhead Center, which is our main eatery, didn't exist until after I graduated. So it's easy to get a little bit jealous when I'm talking to these folks. But alongside people being really smart and taking advantage of a lot of opportunities and a culture of sometimes selectivity, is a little bit of imposter syndrome that drives in and feeling like you're not doing enough. And there's a almost compulsion to take advantage of every single opportunity, and guilt when you can't get to them. And that's something that I certainly feel in my role now when I talk to students as an advisor, when we're admitting students, and when I look back at my Duke experience. There are things that you don't get to do, and that's not a bad thing. But reconciling that sometimes you won't get chosen for the thing, and sometimes you won't be able to do it, and sometimes you're going to have to say no because you just can't, is something that a lot of Duke students are really experiencing for the first time. It's gonna be the first time you get a C-. It's gonna be the first time you don't make the debate team, and that's okay, because you're gonna find a lot of other communities and a lot of other opportunities, and you're gonna graduate with a Duke degree at the end of the day and have a bunch of Duke Blue people behind you.
Yeah, that was incredible. I think you stole the words out of my mouth for my least favorite thing. I think I was definitely going to touch on imposter syndrome. And I think Duke is hard, and it can be a hard place academically, and it can be a hard place extracurricularly, but it is so hard because everyone is so incredible. It's like the double-edged sword of it being such a great place is that it's also sometimes just difficult. But I think on the flip of that, my favorite thing about Duke has been, in addition to what everyone has said, like the people in the community, has been the opportunities for mentorship, both like formally, but honestly more so informally. I think as a math major and as like a woman in that space that is just like historically more male, having female professors at Duke who I could go to sure like help me with my problem sets and things like that, but also just like hype me up. Like after not doing well on one of my midterms, I like went to my female math professor and was like, I can't do this, like I'm not gonna do well in this class, like freaking out. And she was like, no, like we're gonna make a plan right now, like you're gonna do this, like it's gonna be great, like you got this. And it just like meant so much coming from her. And I think that was my sophomore fall. So then I really decided to be a math major after that, and really in large because of that support that I received. And I think similarly, Rabbi is like this incredible like mentor and someone who's so there for you. And I think for me, like coming to terms with my queer identity while at Duke, Rabbi was someone who was huge for me in that experience as well. So I think a lot of the mentorship opportunities that are available make Duke a less hard place despite things like imposter syndrome. Yeah, I think that is all we have time for. So I just want to say one last thank you to everyone for coming. We hope that this was helpful and informative. These recordings will be posted, and if you signed up for this event, you should get an email about where that posting is, but it will also be on our website. So if you missed anything or want to watch it again, please apply. Good luck in the application process and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Devils.